I'm going to show you how to bring your iMovie projects into GarageBand, which is the free digital audio workstation that comes bundled with every Mac, at least at the time of this video, so you can create more professional sounding audio. Mike, what do I need GarageBand for? Doesn't iMovie have its own audio tools for fixing and enhancing audio? Yes, it does. It has a bunch of tools, and I did a video going through all the different audio tools in iMovie to show you how they work. They're very limited, and they're not terribly effective in a lot of cases. So if you want to do more serious audio work with your iMovie projects, then you should be looking at GarageBand. So I have this clip in iMovie, just play it here, because I believe that the majority of people creating video content for YouTube or any other social media platform aren't necessarily interested in becoming video professionals. It's okay, it sounds okay, it sounds fine, but we can enhance it and do some things with it in GarageBand. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to export this iMovie project as a video. You just go up to the top here to the share button here, and you click that. Export file. This is not subscribe button. We'll call this GarageBand demo. Make sure that video and audio are selected because we're going to be working on the audio in GarageBand. 1080p, high, better quality. Then you hit next, and then we'll just put it to the desktop here. I think I already did it already. We'll see what happens. Yeah, I already exported it, but I'll just replace it. And then that exports. So we're going to go and open up GarageBand. So we're going to use Spotlight search for that. So we're going to do Command spacebar, and we'll start typing in GarageBand. And it should be like, as soon as I hit G, there it is. And we will open it up. And here I have a project I've been working on because I use GarageBand to do other stuff. So I'm just going to close this out here, and we'll start new. So when you open GarageBand, if you haven't been working on a project like I have been, you'll get this screen here to choose a project. Usually it would be new project. So you can choose recent projects, a whole bunch of stuff I worked on, or a new project. So we're going to start with new project, and we'll select choose. And then we're into the GarageBand interface. Now, you get this dialog here to create a new track. So we've got MIDI, which is software instruments. That's for music. Drummer, that's music. What we're interested in is this one here, mic or line audio. Record using a microphone or line input or drag and drop audio files, which is essentially what we're going to be doing. So we have that selected, and I'm going to click. I'm not going to worry about any of these other things right now. I'm just going to hit create. And here we are in the default GarageBand interface. And you can see up here this LED readout. Now this is for music. You can see it's 1.1 beats, tempo 120. So what I usually do, and if you're using it for video, the first thing you're going to do here is this little arrow beside. You're going to click on that. And from beats and projects, that's what it's set to now. I'm going to set it to time. So now we're in the familiar time code of video world. Over here we've got metronome and other things. I'm going to turn these off because these will make a clicking sound because they're for keeping time if you're creating music. These are the tracks. This is the track area. So you can see right now I have one default audio track right here, audio 1. Up here is actually a sound meter. This will be more relevant once we get a clip in here, and you'll see that. Down here we have the plugins area. So this is where when we go to enhance and correct our audio, this is the area we're going to be using down here. And you can see there's some basic controls already here in GarageBand when you open it up. And then up here, just for navigation's sake, way up here in the corner, this thing right here, this is for zooming in and zooming out of this track area. So you just click on that. You can zoom out, zoom in, and zoom out. There's also a keyboard shortcut. I'm using Command left arrow, Command right arrow to zoom into the track. That's just the basics of the interface. So how do we bring our video into GarageBand? This is an audio program, right? So first way is to go up to the top menu here and go up to where it says track and select that. And down here, you can see show movie track. So if I select that, you can see a movie track appeared. You can see it right here. There's a little track at the top. And then if I click on those arrows, I can now open a movie. So I go open, and then the Finder comes up, and I go to the desktop, and I find my video, and hit open. My video is now in GarageBand on a great flattering frame of my face. So here it is in GarageBand. So you get this video window, and up here, if you can see, zoom in a bit here, is a film strip of your video. So these frames up here represent your video, and this audio track here is the audio from your video. So if I hit the space bar, I can play and we can listen. Because I believe that the majority of people creating video content for YouTube or any other social media platform aren't necessarily interested in becoming video professionals. Another way to bring in a video is just to drag and drop it. So if I got it from the Finder, I would just pick it up and drag it into the interface, and it would automatically come up. And then from here, once we're in here, we can do all kinds of stuff. So let me just show you real quick. You can resize this window if it's in your way. You can like shrink it down. Usually you want to move it somewhere. You want to have it there for reference, but you can just adjust it. And if for some reason you close this window and you're like, oh no, I lost it. How do I get it back? There's a little thumbnail right up here in the track, the movie track. You click on that, it brings back your video. All right, so now that we're here in GarageBand, what is it, Mike, that we can do? We can create music here because this is GarageBand. So what you can do is, you can go in and look at all the loops here in GarageBand, and you can create music or score your video. I'm not going to be getting into that in this video, but just showing you the possibilities. And these are royalty-free loops from Apple, so you're not going to run into any copyright issues. So there's that. That's a big thing. The other thing you can do, you have all these tracks here. You can really build up a sophisticated sound mix because you can have multiple tracks of music, sound effects, all kinds of things. You can do stuff that's real simple, like fixing audio, enhancing audio. So I'm going to take you through that because that's probably something you're going to most likely use GarageBand for if the tools in iMovie aren't good enough for fixing your audio. One thing I want to say though about this track up here, if I just show you here, zoom in, you can see there's a lock icon right there, and then there's these double rings. So the double rings means this is a stereo track. The lock means this audio is locked to the picture. You can still edit this audio. So for example, I'm just going to zoom in a bit here. So for example, say I want to cut out a pause here or something like that. So I'll take the playhead and place it there, and then right click and select split at playhead, and that cuts the track. And then if I want to go, I would just go over here, and again, split at playhead, and then I would select this part that I just clipped out, and I can cut it. So I removed that part, but the video is still in sync. The majority of people creating video content, and even if I tried to move this, see that? It just goes right back. So you can do some basic editing here in this top track, and that's about it, which is fine. You can just sort of cut out dead air if you want to. So I want to direct your attention to this area down at the bottom, because this is the control area. This is where we can really enhance and change our audio. First thing I want to say though, in order to make this work, whenever you're going to do any kind of work in GarageBand, if you're going to apply effects or anything like that, you want to make sure that your track is selected. So you can see up here, this is my track. And I know it's selected because it's light gray. So now audio 1 is selected. So whatever I select, now the things that I'm going to do are going to affect that track. So you have to make sure your track is selected. All right, so now that my track is selected, I'm going to go down here. And let's look over here first at this big blue area here because it's kind of obvious. So GarageBand, when you open it, it opens two of the probably the most common types of audio processing that you're going to use, particularly for voices. And that is a compressor down here and EQ. All right, so what do these do? So a compressor, if you don't know, basically what it does is it takes the loudest sounds, brings them down, and it brings the quietest sounds and brings them up and kind of compresses what's called the dynamic range so that everyone could hear everything. EQ, equalization, essentially what it does is it boosts or reduces certain frequencies in a sound file. You can see here on the equalizer, if you look at it, we have low, mid, high, and those are the different frequency ranges in a sound file. And what a equalizer does is it boosts or reduces them. So let's apply these to our file. And so it's very simple because they're already engaged here. And you can see the power button is on here. And if I want to use the compressor, I just flip the little switch here. And now it's on. So how do you use these things? Okay, well, let me just show you. I'm going to play the file here. And the first thing I'm going to do is add the compressor. So I'm just going to grab the dial and you just click on it and you can see it's kind of tricky. You got to sort of up and down it there to move it. And essentially what you want to do is you want to play your file. Because I believe that the majority of people creating video content and dial in just when you start seeing those dots social media platform aren't necessarily interested in becoming video professionals. So you can already hear, I don't know if you can hear the difference. We'll do it with it off. It's very subtle. Here's without the compressor. Because I believe that the majority of people creating video content for YouTube or any other social media platform with compressor aren't necessarily interested in becoming video professionals. It's very subtle because I didn't dial it in a lot. Because if you can really compress it and then it starts sounding too compressed and unnatural. Just a little bit. You could hear, I hope you could hear, there's a little more presence in the audio. I'll play it one more time. Because I believe that the majority of people creating video content for YouTube or any other social media platform aren't necessarily interested in becoming video professionals. That's a compressor. Just gives more presence to it so you can hear more of what's being said. All right, so that's the compressor. So what does the EQ do? So what I can do now is I can enhance or boost certain frequencies. So say I want to add a little more low end to my file here. I'll just dial in a little bit more of low here. Because I believe that the majority of people creating video content for YouTube or any other social media platform a little more bass, aren't necessarily interested in becoming video professionals. I'm going to return that to there. And then the mids is the same thing, though the mids is can be... Because I believe that the majority of people creating video content for YouTube or any other social media platform aren't necessarily interested in becoming video professionals. You would rarely use the mid. The highs is one that's probably useful particularly for people who have deeper voices like me. The high is good to sort of just to give out some clarity. So if I do that. Because I believe that the majority of people creating video content for YouTube or any other social media platform aren't necessarily interested in becoming video professionals. So just gives a little more clarity, especially if you have music, if you're mixing with music. A lot of times the voices will kind of get lost and you want to give them a little more clarity and a little more presence, a little more articulation. You're going to be doing that with the highs. I'm going to put these back to their defaults. Now over here, we've got things like ambience and reverb. Reverb is like echo, so you can add some. I believe that the majority of people creating video content for YouTube or any other if you want to sound like you're in a big empty room, necessarily interested in becoming video professionals. So you can give a little bit of echo. Usually you would use that for singing vocals, for singing, just to give it a nicer sound. But for dialogue, you typically don't use that. It's the same for ambience, the same kind of thing. The great thing here, though, about these plugins is that you don't have to, if you're like, well, I don't know what to pick, how do I dial this in? What do I do? If we come over to this area down here where it says plugins, we can see, if we just scroll up, this is the plugins area. So you can see here, compressor, channel EQ. Those are these. They match these controls over here. So I can turn it off. But the really cool thing is that if I select this controls area right here, all of a sudden now I have this control panel where I can really get precise with my compressor. So I can really dial in things. If you know how compressors work, I'm not going to go into all the details here, but you can dial in all these different settings manually to really fine-tune the compressor. And better than that, up here in this bar, if we select custom, we have presets. So if I go down to voice, look at all these presets. These are presets for the compressor. So if you're saying, hey, I would like my dialogue narration, let me select that. Boom. Preset happens. Let's see what that sounds like, or rather hear what that sounds like. I believe that the majority of people creating video content for YouTube, or that's the on button, just to let you know, just to make sure it's on. I believe that the majority of people creating video content for YouTube or any other social media platform aren't necessarily interested in becoming video professionals. So that is a preset for narration in the compressor. So you don't have to worry about messing with the dials. You can actually just pick presets. So we have presets for the compressor, but we also have presets, you guessed it, for the channel EQ. Now this, I know this looks kind of scary. This is the EQ interface. Do not be alarmed. Do not be alarmed. If we engage this now, we can go into this custom. Now you can manually hear. If you're really into audio, you'll know what to do. You can manually set your equalizer to raise or lower a certain frequency. All these are different frequency ranges here. And if you've ever seen, an equalization graph, you'll notice it's like a curve. It goes up, it goes down, depending on what you're trying to, depending on the voice and the sound you're trying to achieve. But you don't have to do that. If we select custom, again, we have voice presets, bright vocal, compressed vocal, natural vocal, vocal presence. That's one, sometimes we need, particularly if you have a deeper voice or a microphone that's got a lot of low frequency sound to it. Speaking voice improve, that's another one that you can use to enhance vocal presence. Now the other great thing about GarageBand is these are all built-in plugins in GarageBand. But this area right here, it's so small, I know. But I can add another plugin here. If I click on these little arrows. So here is everything that's built in. Oh yeah, you got fun stuff like the pitch shifter, which you can change the pitch of your voice and stuff like that. But you have all these built-in plugins that are primarily for music production. But you can use some of these for doing voice stuff. But here's the great part. Over here, audio units down here. These are third-party. You have Apple plugins. Look at all these plugins in here. It's crazy. That's what comes with Apple. But then there are third-party called VSTs or audio unit plugins that you can get online for free or you can buy that you can use as well. So you can bring in like high-end plugins, different plugins that can do different effects, and bring them into GarageBand and use them on your tracks, which is very cool. I'm just curious, just to have some fun. This is the pitch shifter. Let's play around with this because I believe that you can hear my the majority of people creating video content for YouTube. You can hear the chipmunk there. I guess I was messing with this before. You can go down how many semitones up and down if you want to go deeper. The mix is 25%. Let me go 100%. That's basically mixing how much of the effect with your natural voice. Oh boy, here we go.
People creating video content for YouTube or any other social media platform aren't necessarily interested in becoming video professionals.
If you have issues with noise in your tracks, echo or other things like that, is something called the noise gate. I'm just going to get rid of this pitch shifter. And I'm going to go in here and noise gate. So the noise gate here, basically what you're doing is going to reduce background noise at a certain threshold. And you kind of have to play with this in terms of when you want the noise to, when the noise kicks in. You want to do this so that it's just getting rid of the noise, or you're going to start eating into your actual dialogue. And so this threshold is when the noise gate kicks in. So let's just see. There's not a lot of noise in my track here because I believe that the majority of people, so you can see, or YouTube or any other social media platform, aren't necessarily interested in becoming video professionals. So minus 34 is probably where I want to be. That's pretty aggressive, but that's with a noise gate. So you would dial that in until you're not hearing the noise as much. And that goes for incredible, if you have a lot of reverb and echo, you can use the noise gate as well to try and fix that. Great, Mike. We've done all this great stuff. We've enhanced our audio. Love it. So how do I get the video out of GarageBand? Well, there's two ways, essentially, to export your project with your video and your new audio out of GarageBand. One way is to actually export the video with the audio. And GarageBand allows you to do that, actually. So let's say I'm done and I'm happy with what I've done here. I believe that the majority of people creating video content, cool, like got a little bit of presence, is great. Now I want to get this, say I want to upload this to YouTube, for example. So what I would do then is I would go up to File, let me zoom in here, up to File, and go down to Movie, Export Audio to Movie. And then you get your familiar export dialog. But we have an extra setting here, preset. It gives you some presets for exporting, SD 480p. Well, my video is a 1080p, so I don't want that. So I can go into this menu, and you can see I have all these choices. I can do SD 480p, I can do HD 720p, 1080p, iPhone, iPad. Most cases, you're going to want to pick full quality because that is going to export your video in its full quality that it came into GarageBand with, for the most part. So once you do that, you can save it. I'll save it to the desktop. And let me just give this, I'm going to say mixed so I can tell what it is. And so now GarageBand exported the video with the new audio track. Bring it on over. Let me bring this window down a bit because it's a little too big. And I'll move this one over so we don't see it. This is the exported video that GarageBand exported. Because I believe that the majority of people creating video content for YouTube or any other social media platform aren't necessarily interested in becoming video professionals. Now, you say, well, okay, that's great, Mike, but what if I want to actually bring just the audio back into iMovie because I want to do some more editing, I wanted to, do some more stuff there and then export? Well, you can do that too. You can export just the processed audio, but this time in the menu, instead of going to File, we're going to go to Share. Export song to disk. You can see that there. And so now we get some different settings here. So this is just going to export the audio. So I'm just going to say audio track to the desktop. Now down here, under quality, we have some settings here. Typically, if you're going to go back into editing, you want to have the highest quality as possible. So in that case, I would either choose AIFF, which is an Apple-specific uncompressed audio format, or WAVE, which is a more common uncompressed audio format that's compatible with Mac and Windows. I'm going to pick AIFF since we're on the Mac, and I'm going to pick the best quality, which is uncompressed 24-bit. Export cycle area. We don't have any cycle areas. Cycle areas are basically if you're looping stuff, you want to loop stuff in the timeline, you create a cycle area. We don't have that here. So I'll select export. And now GarageBand has exported just the audio track. So here we are back in iMovie. And so what I'm doing is going to find that audio track. I'm going to drag it into the, let me keep things neat. I'll just drag it into the event. This is my newly imported track. And what I can do now is just drag it. So now it's here. Now I don't want double audio because now we have two audio tracks, right? We have the original. Let me just move this up a bit so you can see. We have the original that's on the video track, and then we have the new one. So I don't want that. That's going to be too much. So I will select my original clip, and I'll go up into the audio volume settings, and I will mute it by clicking the speaker. And so now, because I believe that the majority of people creating video content for YouTube or any other social media platform aren't necessarily interested in becoming video professionals. And that's it. That's how you bring it back in and use it in iMovie, and then you can continue editing, or you could export from here if you wanted to.